week's episode of the Friday Night Galley. We are continuing our mutiny this week. I will be your host, Mr. Producer, welcoming my guests.
Guest. A titular character is a guest.
Which one's titular? Is that Bolg?
That's bold. Yeah,
That is-
I'm not
yeah,
in the
Pretty
title.
titular, yeah.
It features Lock the Bard. I have your little names messed up here. We're going to switch this around real quick. You're seeing some on the dot, on the clock editing.
Oh yeah, yeah. You had me as Chef Bold.
We are
Professional.
we are very professional. This is a high quality stream. Let me introduce to you the magnificent Chef Bolg
That's me.
and the ever lovely Loke the Bard. We have hopefully a great episode for you guys. I know we've been off to a little bit of a rocky start. That's on me. This is only my second episode hosting. But we have a lot to talk about tonight. I think the big thing that's been on everybody's mind this week has been none other than the game that is taking the gaming genre by storm. I'm sure you've heard about it by now. It is Pal World.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we've got about 10 hours of streaming that you can go back and watch.
Yes, we do. We have quite a bit. I know both Loke and myself have both played Pal World so far. Have you had a chance, Bolg?
I have not. I have been with my dad since we got back from the cruise because we both had COVID, and I wanted to keep it out of my house. So I've been here and not able to play it, even though it's pre-downloaded on my Xbox.
Damn. It has been quite the wild time. I think it's right down your alleyway, and I think you'll have a great time when you play it.
Yeah, other than that 10 hours, I probably put in another 30 hours this week. I had to work, so I had to, after work time. I couldn't do it all day, every
Legal
day.
disclaimer.
Like I'll probably do this weekend. I'll probably put in a good 48 hours into it this weekend. But yeah,
You got to take at least like 4 or 5 hours off for D&D though.
Oh yeah. So what? Well, I still got 4 or 5 hours
43
tonight
hours?
too. I still got tonight, right?
Yeah, you got to
I gotta sleep at some point. So, but yeah, it's been a very addicting. It's fun. I mean, it's not perfect. It's an early release game. There are still some difficulties that need to be ironed out. We were playing on Sunday, and they released new patches for it, and cut out those of us that were on Xbox on the cross-platform got cut off for a couple hours while the updates filtered out because Felix got it, then I got it, and then finally PC and Mr. Producer got it. Where because it was staggered like that, we wind up. You have to all have it at the utmost up to date to stay playing together. So
Yeah, they did. I feel like they did drop the ball a little bit on that. We found out the hard way that Steam and Xbox couldn't play together, so we had to go. We did a little money shuffling there. But I'm. Are they on the same patch yet, or are they still different?
I've seen on the Xbox 2 more patches since Sunday.
Okay. Well,
So
they've sold what? Is it 8 or 9 million so far?
well, I know they had sold 5 million by Monday morning.
Yeah, I think it's gone up another 3.
Yeah.
They
They sold 1 million copies in the first 8 hours. So I don't know where their total sales is at now. But that's an incredibly high demand game to go that fast.
8 million copies sold in less than 6 days.
Yeah, they had to have an emergency call over the weekend last weekend with the server hosts because they didn't have the server bandwidth to handle the volume that was hitting them.
My hope for this is that they take the money that they've earned over this last week and it'll go further towards game development and maybe legal fees. moving
this is still
forwards.
technically a pre-release, so it's allowed to have. See, I don't mind a pre-release being a little buggy, having some little wonky mechanics that need some tweaking. Because it's a pre-release. It's technically a beta test.
Right, but it's a beta test that I think a lot of people were sleeping on Power World initially. I wanted to talk about it in our previous galley, and we just didn't get it on the time constraint. I kind of wish we had though, because it would have been interesting to compare what we knew then to what we know now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got all kinds of tips and tricks if we want to get into that later.
I've had to start over a couple times for different. We started at different worlds, and then one of them bricked itself, and then another one bricked itself. Then we threw the pirate captain down the brig, so he's been unavailable to continue the game that we started.
Yeah, and he was the host, so we kind of had no choice but to either start our own separate games or wait for him to come back. He was the one.
I think that's what a lot of us, ended up doing, was we just branched off into our own worlds because
and
a multitude of reasons.
The good thing about that, though, is when you restart, the things you've learned, like the next time I restart, my base will be so different than it's been because I've learned so much in this, just in these restarts. Like little things like you don't want to put your stuff inside your building because your pals, I almost called them Pokemon, the whole controversy about this.
There's been a lot of jokes behind that made over these last few days.
Because the pathing is not quite perfect yet, they'll get stuck and not go in or not come out of the house.
Right.
So when you build stuff, you want to build it all outside and just keep your bed and your storage boxes or whatever inside, where your pals don't have to go to. And there's some little things like they want your pals to do all your building. So if you try to build something yourself, you're sitting there holding that X button on the, what is it, F on the computer?
Yeah, it's F. Yeah.
You're sitting there holding it. Before we got on here, I sat for an hour straight building gun ammo.
Wow.
Because it took almost an hour to build 80 rounds of handgun ammo. Because I didn't use my pals. I was.
I think it would have been faster to just leave your pals out there and then you go and run and find some of the syndicate camps.
Yes, it would have. It definitely would have. But you learn the hard way. Or you set up the bench at your camp, you tell it to build that, and then you go away and let your pals build in your camp, and when you come back, it's fully built.
Right, exactly. So, where do you guys think, does it walk too fine a line of copyright infringement?
I think that's a big red herring. I think that's something that internet trolls are drumming up. That's not really an issue because I don't know if any of our watchers. I know we've all seen. There was an article about a mod that had come out that would actually turn it into Pokemon and turn your character into Ash. and
which is a wild, they did it fast. Like he had it like day 2. He had that out there.
Yeah, and Nintendo, an hour after he put it up on his Patreon or whatever it was to download, he had a cease and desist order in his hand.
Nintendo doesn't fuck around that way.
Yeah, they don't. And if we showed you pictures of it on this stream, we would get copyright struck. I know other streamers have.
They say any publicity or bad publicity is good publicity. So I mean, we could take a swing there.
Yeah, but Nintendo's not going to say that they're not going to do anything and not going to sue them and not going to blah 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 because they know they have no ground to stand on. But
yeah, they released their statement earlier today, I guess, saying, "Hey, we're going to investigate this," but it was very much like yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Our lawyers have been on it since it's been, announced.
There's been a pretty big internet rift between, the Pokemon player and the Power World players, where it's very, very elitist almost.
I don't believe it actually. I think a lot of these Twitter rage are the same person posting 10 different times on different accounts. Because I don't believe, unless they work secretly for Pokemon, in development for Pokemon or Nintendo or something like that, or big shareholders of Nintendo, maybe. Why are you defending somebody else's intellectual property so hard?
There's purists in every
Yeah,
genre.
yeah, but
So
I don't think there's that many of them. Now the AI thing, that you start walking a little more gray line, um, because there was also a no evidence controversy, where they were talking about because the creator, the lead designer on this, had posted years ago, that he could see a future with where they were using AR designed assets in games, and then they created a game that used an AI feature and sold it as that. They advertised it as that. People on the internet were using that as evidence that they took the Pokemon, fed it through AI, and this is what came out.
I
And
believe Steam requires AI disclosure
right,
in their listing, and there is no AI notice on the Steam page, and
yeah,
I wonder if that could lead to legal troubles with Steam because
yeah, they could get kicked off the Steam platform for violating that. So they're not.
If it has AI, yeah.
Yeah, they're not. It's a there's no evidence, and it was very circumstantial. Like, it was tweets the guy said, like, look how good this other company's AI art looked, or something completely not. But the AI people right now, like, especially, and I get it. If I worked in that industry, I think I'd be a little more.
you're fighting robots is what
Yeah, yeah.
you're fighting you're fighting the
So,
labor form of Terminator.
well, but that fight's been lost already. It's
Yes,
lost.
yes
Bow
and
down to our
no.
AI masters. I will submit. I will work for the AI. I will betray humanity
all,
and work for the AI.
Yeah.
all hail our
Ask,
new robot overlords.
ask Detroit how that went.
Yeah,
It's been
or
going
or,
on for decades.
or the Walmart cashiers. Freaking self
Like,
checkout.
the AI discourse, like, I understand if it's stealing art and using that, but if you're creating a sophisticated enough AI, and they are out there, to learn from the ground up how to draw something, how to make something,
Yeah.
and then make it, that brings itself into, well, who is the creator then, the AI or the person who wrote the AI code?
Well, it's not the person who creates the AI code. It is everyone whose content gets scanned for that AI generation.
That's the thing, is that I'm talking about from ground level up, where
Mhm.
you literally teach this AI how to draw, how to paint,
Right.
how to
The-
write a symphony, how to write music, and it does it.
Yeah, the problem is, once the AI learns, Mickey Mouse, because Steamboat Willie's in the public domain, so they use Steamboat Willie to train that AI to draw Mickey Mouse. Now that AI can now create Mickey Mouse cartoons on command, and that is where these people are
That's
afraid.
that's that's the problem. Yeah, that is not kosher. But if it's doing it from
That's public
by
domain.
line, by circle,
Yeah, it's public domain though. They could train it off public domain art
Yeah,
legally.
there's going to be a lot of discourse about this in the years to
And then you
come, I
get,
believe.
people making Mickey do stuff that would not Disney would not approve of.
Yeah,
and there,
sorry, go ahead, Volk.
I was gonna say there's people like, for most people, they're using it to do personal stuff. Like, yeah, I've used AI to draw pictures of characters that I can't draw myself. just to get a visual aid on what they look like, but not using it for any commercial purpose or anything like that. All of our stuff has been hand done. Like even stuff that I've done for, merch and stuff I've made it online with lines and circles and stuff like that. But the personal use is fine with me. Do whatever you want to do with it. Once it starts getting into the commercial, like using AI as writers for TV shows and shit like that, no. That's not cool. Video games especially, using AI assets where you would normally have a programmer and an artist and like 3 or 4 jobs now being taken care of by one AI, it's not cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I read a lot of lit RPG, and all of them they're using AI NPCs, where every NPC can pass the Turing test. And I'm looking forward to that future personally. Put AI in my game. Go ahead. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think.
So we're opposite extremes again, Bo. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I'm fine with AI like systems and stuff like that, but the actual assets and stuff, no, that belongs in human hands, doing human work. But like learning systems, the actual AI of enemies, like that's an important step that I think can be grown and utilized effectively versus writing your storyline using an AI.
But imagine you've seen the procedural generated games right now, which are some of them get kind of wonky because the procedures are not very good. Imagine if AI is the one creating those procedure generated worlds and creatures, and
as long as the assets were created by human hands, fine.
No, I'm saying the AI procedurally creates them from the ground up. The world you're running in, every leaf on a tree, every grain of sand is created custom when you load your game by the AI to give you a unique gaming experience. You wouldn't want that?
I would prefer that people put in the same work that they've put in for literal millennia towards making experiences for other people.
Yeah. or you could have an AI that's the game to end all games, where you go to the game and you say, "Hey, AI, I want a game where it's Pokemon with guns. Call it Power World." Spits it out, and you could play it. Then you can say, "Okay, that was fun. Hey, AI, I want Super Paratroopers, G.I. Joe versus Transformers," and it spits it out. That could be the future if you let AI in game.
Loke is out here trying to get a good word in before the AI takeover, so he can reference back to this moment.
I will say,
as a creative person, that terrifies the shit out of me, because if that happens, the entire game industry is gone, because any game is now right there at your fingertips, AI generated on demand.
I think no matter, AI or not, I think we're going to have a landmark case here with, copyright.
How did we got to AI?
We got real deep. We got real deep into AI.
I will serve the AI. You thought I was joking. I've researched this shit.
Isn't it Terminator 2 plot where a human sells out the human race to the Terminators?
4, I think.
Terminator 4. I know it's one of the plots, but that's what I see in the making right here.
And Terminator 1, it goes back in time and tries to kill the leader of the opposition before it's born. Then 2, when it goes back and tries to kill it when it's a kid. Then 3, it goes back and tries to kill him right before the nukes go off. No, it's 5 that he he winds up basically co-opting the guy that was supposed to be the savior into being the bad guy.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what AI does moving forwards, but only time will tell there. Smooth transition into our next topic.
Uh-oh.
Way to go, bud. You're learning from the best. By the way, smooth transition.
We have. Did you guys get a chance to see the Roadhouse trailer?
I did. I don't know. See, this is one of those cases where if they had called it Beach Bar instead of Roadhouse, I would probably think this trailer was an awesome movie trailer. But the fact that it is a remake of Roadhouse, and some of it's very nice and sticks to the same general thing, and then some of it goes way off and like left field, like crazy.
So I've never seen the original Roadhouse.
That's a sin.
It came out a long time before I was born.
Doesn't matter.
How? So you're saying it wasn't very faithful to?
In the original, you don't know where his back. He is working in a bar as what's called a cooler, which is the guy, I guess, who trains the bouncers and gets the bar in good working order. And then he takes this job at this Roadhouse bar for a friend.
Okay.
That much seems to be staying kind of faithful.
Okay.
And there is like a land grabs, Lex Luthor scam. The bad guys are coming to make trouble to make the bar have to get sold or whatever. That much is, but like you got no background on where the main character learned to fight. He wasn't about to be home. He wasn't living in his car. He was well paid for what he was like the best at his job.
Right.
But now sometimes when they do these, like Battlestar Galactica, they changed a lot, and that is probably the greatest reboot ever done. So it could still be good. And like I said, if it wasn't a remake of Roadhouse, the preview looks pretty good. It looks like a good movie. It's got a lot of action. I don't know if Jake Gyllenhaal is really the kind. He doesn't have the look I would want for the role. But neither did Patrick Swayze. Yeah, but neither did Patrick Swayze when he did the original Roadhouse. I mean, this is Ghost and Dirty Dancing's lead stars. Then again, he also did Red Dawn, which was a great movie. You did see that one, right?
Wolverine.
The original Red Dawn is great. The remake is terrible.
And
that's what I'm afraid of with this.
Yeah, it's almost as if remakes suck.
Yeah, and that's the remakes for the sake of remakes suck.
Have there been any remakes that are better than the originals that you guys can think of off the top of your head?
Other than Battlestar Galactica?
Yes.
Friday the 13th.
Okay.
The remake actually had a terrifying Jason, and really the first Friday the 13th was boring. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a landmark film, and as a horror lover, it's high up there in terms of importance. It's boring.
Yeah, there's a reason Scream used that as the trivia question, who the killer was in the original Friday the 13th. Because it wasn't Jason.
It was his mom, yeah. You forget it's Pamela that does the killing.
Yeah, it was a completely different movie from the rest of the series.
So I found it interesting, going back to Roadhouse, that the director of the film, Doug Liman, is going to be boycotting the premiere of this film because I believe the reason is he's protesting the the straight to streaming model that Amazon and Netflix are opting to use, and he, I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe he feels it's stripping a huge part of the movie and the movie going experience, and if it's allowed to continue, there will be an end to cinemas to come.
And you sold this to the wrong studios. This is an Amazon Studios production, isn't it?
Yes, it is an Amazon Prime by.
Yeah, I mean, this ain't, you ain't going to Universal Studios or Sony Productions, who go mostly straight to the theaters first.
Well, Amazon bought MGM in 2020.
Yes.
So I don't know if it was already in development at that time.
Okay, so he
4-year development. That's a long time.
It's been in development a long time. It's one of those that had a lot. I believe it had a different star originally and different writer, and it was one of those that had a lot of issues getting out. I think, if I remember, kind of like the new Highlander. It's been in production pretty much since the old one came out.
Well, then the thing would be, if you're making a movie for MGM, and then Amazon buys it, you have to know it's going straight to streaming.
Yeah.
You have to know, because the Prime streaming service has been out for a while now. You have to know it's going to streaming.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then it's going to be pretty much exclusive to Amazon, because Bezos is going to Bezos. So my whole thing is, if you're boycotting it. You're boycotting your own movie when you should have seen this coming.
And this ain't an Oscar movie.
No.
And it doesn't need to go to theaters so that it can qualify for awards.
Yeah, I mean, this just looks like some
This
kind
is
of
a
trashy fun movie.
Yeah, this is a straight. The original Roadhouse, I don't know how well it did in the theater. I think it was home video when it became the cult classic it is now. Because I don't remember anybody going to see that in the theater. But I remember watching it on cable, or streaming, or not streaming, rental videos back when I don't remember what year that was. It was a long time ago that movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
But
1989.
Yeah, 1989. That even back then, it probably didn't make huge money. It wasn't a blockbuster in the theater back then, and it had big name people in it.
30 million worldwide versus a 17 million budget estimated. So yeah, did make a ton of money at box office, but it's like, it does say that it became a cult classic through rentals.
Yeah, almost everybody I know of my age anyway has seen it now. Didn't go see it in the theater, but we did eventually see it, and it was great. I mean, it's not a spoiler or anything. This is the movie where somebody's throat gets ripped out.
Oh, wow. Back in the COVID times, we had HBO and Disney were releasing their movies straight onto their streaming platform. Yeah. HBO did, which is now Max, did it for free, but Disney put up a paywall before, it was like a $30 price ticket to watch the movie before it's released. And since then, both of those studios have released their movies to cinema. They release it out to cinemas.
Well, Disney got sued over Black Widow.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because the contracts are what are important with a lot of that. Because if the contract, part of the pay is based on what they make at the box office, and then they don't put it in the box office.
Yeah,
that's a role on this, that's what they got sued for, is that, Scarlett Johansson's bonus structure was shafted because of it. Yeah.
I feel like directors these days don't know the old standby of just putting your name down as Alan Smithy. Like that's how you protest the movie you made, by putting your name down as Alan Smithy. That is the scapegoat name.
So the villain of this new Roadhouse is said to be Conor McGregor. How much do you two know about Conor McGregor?
I mean, I've seen him, some of his matches, some of his. What, he had the suit that had "fuck you" as the
yeah.
the text print all throughout it. It's the pinstriping.
You know, it feels very almost like Ezra Miller level of liability to bring him on to your film.
Yeah.
The man's
playing the bad guy.
Yeah, but you know, should bad guys be allowed to play bad guys?
Yeah. But this is a very alpha male type, assuming it follows anything like the first, which is why I was surprised Patrick Swayze is the star of the original, because it is very much a Conan, Commando style, rah,
Yeah,
kill him type, movie. Like I said, a guy literally gets his throat ripped out in one of the fights.
Jeez.
So you're not getting the softer side audience anyway.
It's a better protag. Yeah, I won't go there.
They've already said that he's an ex-UFC fighter, so I guess that's the reason why they're bringing in an actual UFC fighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a loaded die to throw Conor McGregor in there. Nothing against the man personally, but he has a certain image, and I don't know if major movie studios want to cater to that.
But again, this is straight to streaming.
I
think it's a safe bet. It's going right to it's going to the Monday Night Raw WWE, action movie crowd.
I would say more the UFC MMA crowd, because the WWE already puts their own people in movies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to that same crowd. It's that same audience, that their target audience.
They want to do a Roadhouse remake that's like more like the remakes have been of late. Put Rhea Ripley in the lead role, and do Ronda Rousey as the bad guy. Do female Roadhouse.
That
or a
would
mud
not
wrestling scene in there. Yeah, exactly. Just like I'm anticipating this will not be very good.
Yeah.
At least not compared to the original.
See, and I always have a hard time, if you're going to change the thing, like, I've always thought you should tweak the title. You can do like I said, a beach bar, and then in the credits, based on, and then the Roadhouse writer's story, or whatever it is. And then I have no expectations of you sticking to what the original was, even if it goes real close. It's still good.
Right.
When you go through the title and keep that title the same, there are certain beats I expect you to hit.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, understandably.
There's it's happened before with like Child's Play. They redid Child's Play and changed it to where instead of voodoo, it's a AI doll.
Get your good chops in. Gotta impress them.
But what you could do is if you're just working on keeping that license, the Roadhouse name and the Roadhouse license for that IP, call it Beach Bar, call it a Roadhouse story, and then have a Patrick Swayze cameo at the end. Boom.
Except
you have your connection to Roadhouse. Well, like a memorial.
Yeah.
You just AI him in.
Your cameo.
AI him in. AI him in.
AI him in. Yeah. Do the deep fakes. Hey,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Halloween brought back Donald Pleasance with voice actors and lookalikes, so you could do it. Then you get kind of into the American Psycho 2 territory where it wasn't even supposed to be a follow-up, and it ended up being a follow-up just by shoving Patrick Bateman into the first 5 minutes.
And sometimes Hollywood also, like, if they get too close to something and they got to buy the name anyway, they're like, if you made a movie called Beach Bar, you're going to have to pay the Roadhouse writers and stuff for the rights to use it. And then, if you're going to pay for the rights to use it, well, then you're going to call it Roadhouse to get the most out of those rights. It's a marketing thing in that case.
At least it has to be better than Roadhouse 2.
I didn't see Roadhouse 2. I didn't know there was.
There's a very good reason why you didn't. It was direct to video, and it was awful. But I would not be surprised also if it does turn out to be some kind of requel instead of a remake. Because that's been the rage now, too, is requels. Where it's basically the same story, but the legacy characters are in there somehow. Like, maybe they will have a memorial to Patrick Swayze. And maybe, the first chick will be there, but... who knows?
Speaking of bad movies, we have a new potential candidate coming out in a couple weeks. It is none other than Madam Web, which releases February 14th.
Have you seen the preview for this one now?
I saw it when it first comes out. It's probably worth a rewatch. But I remember it looked rough.
Yeah, and this is another one of those where they've decided, since they have the rights to the name of that character, and they have some Spider-Man rights, that in order to make the most out of that, they're going to do something completely, what they think is completely original anyway. Because from what I've seen, trailer-wise, and the little bit of Madam Web, I have not read the comics with her, and I've only seen little bits and pieces. Ain't nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah, they're bringing in a bunch of disparate spider characters, and one that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The bad guy makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's Sony's proclivity now. In fact, there's stuff going around that Tom Holland and Kevin Feige want to make Spider-Man 4 low-key, more street-level Spider-Man. Bring in one of the lower-level villains, that kind of thing. But Sony wants to go bombastic, or balls to the wall, bring in the Sinister Six. And
they tried that once, and it failed back in 2013. I don't know what they plan to do this time.
They've been trying it ever since, too, though, because if you look at, the end of Morbius, when, the Vulture meets Morbius, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's the whole... Because he's got Morbius, and Scorpion, Morbius, and the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just need 3 more.
We're going to see Doc Ock in these end credits.
Doc Ock, maybe Harry Osborn. Osborn, I think Osborn is more likely just because they're trying to set up more stuff for the MCU major, and he's a major player in the Dark Avengers storyline, which they may go to after Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, who knows what we're going to see at the end of this. I'm sure it's going to be a movie of all time.
Yeah, this is my Marvel, gotta go see it in the theaters. For these Sony non-Spider or side Spider-Man stories, I think I can pass on these.
Well, you want to hear some blasphemy? It's just a rumor that's circulating on X right now, but from an account called Cosmic Marvel, they tweeted out that Madam Web will reportedly change the iconic "with great power comes great responsibility" quote to when you take responsibility, you will gain powerful abilities. And a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah, that's a terrible change.
Because what is the one piece of Spider-Man lore that you don't change? It is what do they call it in the Spider-Verse? The key moments.
The
Canon. It was that is the canon event for Spider-Man.
Yeah. The great power must also come great responsibility.
And you're taking a really big swing with a really shitty quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if that was true, anybody who, cleans up their own mess should be Spider-Man.
Yeah. See, and this is where we get the superhero fatigue. This movie's going to bomb, and you're going to see people blaming superhero fatigue because a bad movie did badly.
I believe I saw it's projected to make less than Morbius.
Yeah.
Which is that's rough.
Morbius again.
They tried that already.
I'm gonna do it a third time. Why not, Sony? We'll go. It's Morbid time. Come on.
Wow, that feels like so long ago that meme took over the internet. It'll be interesting to see. I'll probably wait for it. Will it come? Does Sony stream their movies anywhere?
They have a deal with Netflix, so it'll go to pay on demand first for you can get it on Apple or Amazon for $20 or $5 or whatever the on demand fee is, and then after the on demand it goes to Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty avid moviegoer, and I just don't know if it's worth it to go see this. Maybe I'll wait to see what the initial reviews say. But
I went to see Miss Marvel without The Marvels, because of Miss Marvel, but that's besides the point. I went to see Marvels in theater without any hesitation, even with all the bad press and rumor stuff that that it had so many problems in development and all that. But this one, I think, is where I draw the line. I'll wait for it to be on Netflix.
I have no desire to go and see this movie in theaters. I did desire to see the Marvels, and I still did, and I'm patiently awaiting the 9th coming up here.
I think the only
Disney Plus.
I think the only thing that will help this movie is how, because of the writer's strike and the actor strike and all that this
use AI.
Yeah. But there's this window right now where there's just no real competition. That is the only thing, I think, because until Dune comes out in March.
Yeah, they're coming out 2 weeks before Dune. They're hitting that one, like you said, that one window that they're trying to scoot in right before Dune comes out.
Yeah, so, and that's the only reason they're going to make any money at all. Because
an absolute Chad move by Dune would be to move their release up 1 week to hype up the film.
Chad will release it a week earlier.
Yeah.
But I have almost... It's true for a lot of movies. I just don't have any desire to go and see them in theater. The only one that I want to see this year is Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one I have seen so far is Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to go see Dune in IMAX because Dune is such a beautiful movie. The original Dune was such a beautiful movie, and that they screwed that one with the day and date release. I wound up watching it at home, day and date, instead of in the theater, because that was part of the HBO Max year up. They did it for that whole year, that COVID year, of all their releases that way. And obviously it loses something when you don't get it on the big, like they're putting the original back in theaters into IMAX.
We could take a Saturday and go catch a double, a back to back.
Yeah.
If we do it as a group, I'm happy to go see it. But just
It's just
by myself, I'm not going to waste the money to go and see it by myself.
yeah, it's just we like to do the dine in, drink a beer theater. Not going to
Yeah.
plug them again. We plugged them last week, but they don't pay us, so we're not going to plug them. They should send us some free stuff though. But
I
they don't do IMAX at that theater. So to go see it in IMAX, we'd have to go to one of the fancy theaters.
I have my issues with the dine-in theater. I don't know if it bugs you guys, but it's always been on my mind. Do the people walking in front of you with the tablets, does that not really phase you in your movie going experience?
I generally get there and in with a big enough group early enough that we've already put our orders in.
Well, yeah, I'm talking more like you're in the middle of the movie. The climactic fight is about to begin, and then one row in front of you, the person wanted their drink order, so they light up the tablet, put it in, and then they walk off. Is that not immersion break, you guys?
As long as it's not in my row or the person next to me, it doesn't.
I guess to me, I have the bladder of a 7-year-old, so I have to get up. So my immersion is broken anyway, so it doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm one of those that does the stuff you're not supposed to do and brings in snacks and stuff. So
I will admit it is nice that like you could just press a call button. I was like, boom, I want my popcorn. Boom, I want my soda.
boom, I want my gin and juice.
Right, exactly. It is nice not having to get out of your seat, try and gauge when a good part of the movie would be to run down to the concession center. Yeah. But I like to be mostly uninterrupted when I'm watching a movie. So that part does take me out of it a little bit. That's just my little vent about that movie theater.
Well, like one of the I get the movie going experience. You get your popcorn, you get your seat, you're reclined, you're watching it on a big screen. To me, I much prefer the ability to pause my movie if I have to get up and go to the bathroom so I don't miss anything. And really, I like to if I'm sitting at home, I turn off the lights, I put on a good set of headphones, and get that sound really right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm zoned in. I still have the popcorn because you can make popcorn at home. I have all the snacks I want. I have alcohol right behind me. So if the movie turns out to be a dud, I can at least make it fun. That's the way I like to enjoy it. But I get the mystique of going to the theater.
Yeah, and that's why the theater business is dying.
Yeah. People are creating their home theater experience that's just the way that they like to enjoy it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and
see, I need to be a big theater goer.
I need something more to go to the theaters these days besides the popcorn. That's why I like the one we go to where I can get a nice dinner, sit there, eat my dinner and a movie at the same time rather than going to dinner and then the movie
That's
fair. And part of it is going with you guys too.
Yeah.
Going and having fun with you guys and watching a movie and kind of doing a whisper riff tracks on bullshit that happens in the movie.
So
if it's a bad movie, it turns into Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's
exactly, yeah.
Here's my other little movie gripe, I guess you could call. Movie going is always seen as a group activity, even though it's ultimately an individual experience.
Yeah, I've gone to movies completely by myself.
It's very stigmatized, but
well, it's rough your first time you do it because it has that stigma to it. I remember when I was in the advanced training in the military.
Uh-huh.
I was at the point where I could leave base, but I was away from home, away from my family and friends. I had to be back on base, by 11 o'clock or whatever it was. On base, they had the officers' clubs or the NCO club or whatever where you could just drink right there and not have to leave. But you wanted to get out and get away. And it was nice just to go out, go see a movie, come back, get away, escape it all for.
It's fun to chat about, afterwards. But it's the same thing with like going on a date. It's very, very individual experience.
Yeah, it's not a good date experience.
That's just my other little gripe.
I mean, and going, it is an individual experience because, as we've shown on this show, we all have different opinions about media we consume. Like, opposite sides of the spectrum. Love Echo, Loke hates Echo.
Hates Echo.
So there are opposite sides of the spectrum, but what does make it fun is that discussion afterwards where you can, talk about it right there with, your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true. It is stigmatized to go by yourself. For me, it was never really a problem because I was the only person who liked horror in my friend group. So horror movies I'd go and see because I was the only one. But I will say the last movie I saw by myself was Dragon Ball Super Superhero. That was what, year and a half ago?
Yeah,
Nearly 2
something
years
like
ago?
that.
So, and we're living in a time where, movies are coming out a month after they're released.
Right.
Back in the day, we'd have to wait 3-6 months to get it on
Then
VHS.
make your way down to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Up the way, up the hill both ways in the snow.
You had to wait 90 days to pay for it still. Yeah. Now by 90 days, it's no extra cost on streaming.
And back then, going to the movie, if you wanted to see a movie, that was the way to do it. Because you'd have to go and rent it months later otherwise.
But also, I think the movie theater business was more profitable back then. So they took better care of the theaters. Because that's one of the reasons I don't go to a lot of our local theaters is the big chain ones that they're really run down and need some work in this area.
I'll be curious to see, short form content is the most popular content consumed by today's youth. So could movies shrink? Will there, I have a hard time seeing the future generation being encapsulated by a movie like Killers of the Flower Moon that's 4 hours long.
Yeah, but we're seeing the opposite. Movies used to be around a tight 90 minutes. Now they're averaging more towards 105 minutes, 115.
But that also goes
2 hour.
And it also goes with the cost. Because I remember when I was a teenager, old man here, we're second run movies. We had a dollar theater in our neighborhood where you could go see movies that were out for 2 or 3 weeks for $1. And I'm old, but I'm not that old. Regular theaters at the time were like $5 for a movie ticket.
They used to play cartoons in the beginning.
Yeah, but even that, the regular theaters were like $5. So at $5 a ticket, 90 minutes, you got your money's worth. Now it's about 20, right? On average, for an average theater, $20 a ticket. You want a little more than that 90 minutes.
Well, it's that plus $10 for a soda, plus another $10 for popcorn.
Yeah, that's always been where the old model, the theaters used to make their money, because the old model was all that money from the ticket went back to the studio. And the theaters operated based on the concessions.
Okay.
They made all of their money on that's popcorn and soda, and that's partially why they're dying too, because back then they had the real fatty, kill you heart with cholesterol butter popcorn that was really good. But now people are more health conscious and won't eat that anymore.
Right.
Well, it's that, and the bigger companies, AMC, Regal, all of them started going, I want my cut.
Yeah.
And so they're killing themselves doing that instead of just falling back on concessions. Studio Movie Grill, I think, it actually has some decent ticket prices because they do make so much more off of concessions and food and stuff like that.
And their food prices You said their name again, by the way. Free advertising, but
Sponsor us.
yeah, their food prices, they're reasonable. They're about the same as an Applebee's or a Chili's, or I mean, they're not outrageous or anything, but yeah, they're probably making more off of that than AMC's making off popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me that one of the few remaining drive-ins in America is right here in Florida in Ruskin. I mean, I remember seeing some big releases at that drive-in theater.
Yeah.
But there was one in Tampa. It's gone now. I think it's a flea market now. One over in Orlando that's gone. It's a dying breed of cinema goer because it is so much easier to do it at home and tailor the experience to yourself.
Well,
making the
and
experience even more individualized.
Property values in Florida. This may be a Florida issue too. You may out in Indiana, they may still have more drive-ins than we have here. It's just the real estate has gotten so valuable to have that because the drive-in takes a lot of square footage.
Can you call it a drive-in if they're just projecting it on the side of a barn?
Yeah.
I think
And that's
so.
the other thing. The technology exists where you can at home, with your own digital projector, you set up a sheet in your backyard and watch a movie in your pool projected on a screen.
Or play video games or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a thing now. So the commercialized, monetized going to see a movie is dying out. I think there will still be a subset of people who will always go and see movies. I mean, they have subscription passes now.
Yeah.
Theaters have subscription passes.
Yeah, they need to come. The theaters, the industry, needs to come up with new ideas, basically, like the subscriptions that gives them a steady stream, like streaming, where they get a guaranteed income. If you don't go watch a movie this month, you still paid for a movie. It doesn't really. What they do, it adds to the national. They take the average ticket price or something like that. That they contribute towards the ticket sales when you use it. But you can use it more than once a month. But then you have to have more than one good movie come out in the month to make it worth it. But like Seminole Movie Grill, we've mentioned their name a couple times. Still not a sponsor. But that kind of dine-in experience, a couple other that's not unique. A couple other theaters out there do that now. That's just the one that happens to be in our area. But there are other ideas you could come up with.
That's always been a thing with movies too. Is the gimmick, 4D, 3D. The tingler, puffing air on you, blowing fans, having smells, smell-o-vision, it's all been a gimmick part of it. I mean, in the beginning, the only way you saw color films was in the theater. It was a huge gimmick at the time. I mean, you had The Wizard of Oz. The only way you could see that in color was in the theater.
Yeah, and there's other things they could do where that if they boothed in, the seats instead of cattle driving you all in there, where you had like a private, like the suite at a sports game where you had the private booth up top. In each theater, you have one where you could rent out the booth for your party.
You run into some potential problems with that, but it's a cool idea nonetheless.
I was saying that there are other ideas they could try that would work, but they'd have to invest in, and they'd have to believe in the idea.
Producer, what do you do in movie theaters? You cutting holes in the bottoms of popcorn bags, sir?
Me? No.
Yeah, but because you were saying, your immersion gets broken when the waiters are walking in front of you and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you were up above everybody else, where you had a clear view of the screen through a big window, there's only the people in the room, you and your friends, so you have nobody on the phone, nobody getting up and leaving that's not one of your friends that's there with you. Would you pay extra for that?
I'd pay. I could see myself paying a premium for that.
Yeah, and bigger the theater, the more of those little booths they have, the balcony seats, more or less, like the old operas or whatever. Or,
You get some surround sound speakers in there too.
Yeah. Well, they have your
That could be a fun time. I could get behind that.
But it's one of those things that they're still living in the old cavalcade, where they were selling out the theater, so they just needed to fit as many people in a theater as they could, and that's not the model anymore because they're not selling out these theaters anymore. Even the big hits, rarely sell out beyond the first showing or two.
Yeah. They're I hate to keep referencing it, but we peaked at excuse me. We peaked at Endgame there, and we've been on what feels like a decline ever since.
That was really a cultural phenomenon where, like, pretty much everybody, it feels like, went to the movies just to catch it more than once. That was the last movie I remember going to see more than once.
Yeah.
Unless, like, I caught something and then we as a group went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's something else I haven't done. Maybe it's just because I'm older and now that the wait is shorter till it's going to come out on screen. I remember, back when Braveheart and Gladiator days, I saw Braveheart like 20 times in the theater. Wow. I saw Gladiator at least 5.
That's crazy.
I can't think of
Lord
any.
of the Rings, yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any modern movie that I've seen. Like I said, you might see it twice. Where if you went before your friends and then your friends want to go, you might go see that second one. But I can't think of the event movies.
Last one I think for me was Spider-Man: No Way Home, and that was a movie I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since those last 2 movies, I think Dune has a chance of maybe, but you play kind of into the heavy sci-fi crowd there. But there's people that will just go see Timothée Chalamet in it. There's people that will go see it just because Zendaya's in it.
Yeah, here's the thing. If I go see it in IMAX, I'll probably only see it once.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's good, just because IMAX is, you're paying twice as much for your ticket. If I go see it in a regular theater, I might go see that one more than once. I've watched the Dune movie streaming wise multiple times. But I had read all the original trilogy of books. I like the Dune universe, the idea behind it. Don't hold that against me, AI. But yeah. For those who don't know, there's no AI in Dune universe because they rebelled against the AI.
That just made me think that really nothing that has been released in my adult life, I would consider one of my movies that I could watch over and over and over again. Those movies are like Alien, Jurassic Park, The Water Boy, Scream, the original Scream, Friday the 13th Part 5.
Mm-hmm.
They're just nothing that has released other than, I would say, Endgame, which I have watched maybe 4 times. I mean, the Dungeons and Dragons movie I've seen twice, and I loved that movie. I loved what it did, with the property we love so much. Hell, I was supposed to see it on the cruise, but I was sick at the time, so I didn't even bother going to see it.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, the Braveheart thing was, I had turned 16. I had a driver's license. I had a car for the first time. Too young to go to bars. Too young to, I had a job. I had money. I had a car. There was limited to do.
Yeah. At
that age. And like I said, we had in our neighborhood that after like a movie was out for like 2 weeks, it went into a dollar theater. It was actually a front for like some money laundering or something, but
oh jeez.
But they had it was $1 to go in, and so if I had nothing to do, I'd just go watch it again. Or if somebody I you haven't seen this? Let's go see this.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. And nowadays, that was before Mel Gibson became problematic, and before it was a different time.
Okay, Grandpa.
I mean, even now, with, like, showing people movies that you've loved, like, your attention wanes. Like, I think the movie I have watched the most out of any movie I've watched is Battle Royale, and that is because I once watched it one time, once a day, for 42 straight days for all the kids that die. And that was just kind of a challenge I set myself. If I were to put it on now, my mind would be absolutely somewhere else. And even if it came out like in theaters again, I probably wouldn't go see it, even though I love it to death. It's a really good movie.
Well, we've hit about that time, folks. I want to ask Chef Bolg and Loke if you have any final thoughts on what we've discussed here tonight.
Well, we kind of went off the rails from the game plan, so.
We covered a few topics. There was a couple of topics we missed, but we can always touch back on those another time.
Come back in 2 weeks. Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to Chef Bolg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything. Thank you for joining us tonight, or possibly watching this VOD in the future.
That's how you know this is real stuff, not AI generated, because we didn't get to the topics.
That is very true.
Or did we? Is this all pre-planned? Is the missing the topics all part of the AI plot?
Yeah.
Does Mr. Producer actually exist?
You'll have to tune in to 2 weeks to find out.
I felt him up. Yes, he does.
On that note, say goodbye, Bolg.